What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today it's yet another mock draft. It's the post-free agency mock draft. I mean, technically post-free agency mock draft. Free agency obviously is always ongoing, but we've sort of seen the best players come off the board. I think that first wave of free agency is kind of over. We're a month away from the draft. I think as teams sort of work out these their big boards and whatnot and sort of assess what they think the rest of the league is thinking, we might see a couple more free agents come off the board. We saw L'Jarius Sneed just get traded to the Tennessee Titans. So that's a pretty good trade for Tennessee, at least. It was a third round pick next year going the other way, plus a seventh round swap. So the Chiefs, they get the comp pick that they would have gotten had they just let L'Jarius Sneed go, but now it allows them to still be players in free agency next year as well. Because the way comp picks work, if you let a big time player go, you don't sign a big time player. That's where you get the comp pick, and you'll see teams sort of avoid signing big time players if they lose big players. That's because they're trying to get the comp pick, and that's why you see a lot of these big players in these scenarios go for third round picks. Just want to make sure that people understand that, because I see people talking about fleecings and all that stuff. Chiefs had no leverage in this trade, so they got pretty much what they thought they could. It was sort of the same deal that you saw with Deontay Johnson, which, by the way, I called, and don't think that I'm not going to bring it up again in this video, Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Oh, I'm hoping not the Pittsburgh Steelers GM. Well, hey, I think I got you guys more value in my prediction of that. But, you cut the cancer out, keep building the team. By the way, good job getting Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, two extremely mid quarterbacks. You guys are good. You guys are good. But there are going to be trades in this video. I usually don't necessarily like to do them because it kind of throws things off. But Minnesota did acquire an extra first-round pick. So they're for sure trading up. They pretty much told the whole world, we're going to give you an extra first-round pick if you let us get into the top 5, top 6. So that's that. So you'll see that play out there. And because of that pick is getting traded, I felt more comfortable making other trades. So you're going to see a couple people moving around in this mock draft in the first round. It's going to be one round. We're going to see teams move up. We're going to see teams trade back into the first round again. And let's go over those trades that I did right now. There's just a couple of them. So we're going to start with the trade with Minnesota and the Chargers. It's going to be 11-23 and a third round pick next year going to the Chargers for the 5th overall pick. They're going to move back. It's the most obvious trade down spot. I don't see Arizona, unless Marvin Harrison goes third to New England, trading out of that spot and giving up on Marvin Harrison, considering they also have a first round pick coming up, which we'll get to. I got Chicago trading back, recouping a third round pick from Jacksonville and a 4th round pick next year to move down to 17. With trading for Keenan Allen, it kind of takes them, it makes them, I think, more comfortable trading back and out of like the Roma Dunze spot. Denver needs picks. They're going to recoup a 2nd round pick trading back with Philadelphia here, so Philly can move up as well. We also have Chicago trading down a 2nd time. They're going to get another 3rd round pick from Pittsburgh, the 98th overall pick, to move back 3 spots. They're going to give up a 5th round pick next year, pick swap that way. And I also have Arizona trading back into the first round to get 3 first round picks with Detroit. Detroit's going to get the 90th pick in this draft to move back 6 spots in the draft. Detroit's done a lot of great work in free agency. You get an extra pick here. I think they can still get the guy that they want at 35. And, that extra 3rd round pick, they can then, maybe move around also in the 2nd round using that new 90th pick. It makes sense for me for Arizona to make that trade into the next round, because they're pretty pick rich, and they got a lot of holes they need to fill, and I think I'm going to fill them up with some pretty fun picks. So I think really the top 8 picks they speak for themselves. I think the obvious is the top 3. New England might pull a fast one and take Marvin Harrison Jr. and then decide that Michael Penix or Bo Nix or whoever might fall into that early second round. Maybe they trade back into the first round to get the quarterback. I just think that it's too much of a... Again, Gerard Mayo's introduction speech really, I think, said it all for me. Jane Daniels will be the pick if he's there. Vikings trade up for J.J. McCarthy, of course. That leaves the Giants with Malik Neighbors. I do think J.J. McCarthy, if you guys saw my guys mock draft that I posted previously, I think he is the better of those three quarterbacks not named Caleb Williams here, but I'm not sure that the league is going to necessarily agree with that. Joe Alt goes to the Titans. That's an easy home run pick for them as well. Help out Will Levis. They getting Calvin Ridley. Again, sort of like Keenan Allen going to Chicago. It kind of took them out of that, the Roma Dunze sweepstakes. And then it's Dallas Turner going to the Atlanta Falcons. I think Atlanta could be a trade-out spot as well. I think they could be a spot for Roma Dunze as well. I think that's a pick to really look out for a team maybe looking to trade up into the top 10. A team trying to recoup picks because I think their needs really suit the strength of this draft, especially if they want to go edge. There's Dallas Turner, there's Jared Verse, there's Liatu Latu, there's even Chop Robinson, Darius Robinson. There's a lot of guys in here that could be great contributors for them early that they might be willing to trade back, recoup, get some extra picks in day 2, day 3 to just further round out their roster with a lot of these positions that are strengths of the draft that are weaknesses for their roster. And Jacksonville trades up is to get Roma Dunze. They got Gabe Davis. I wouldn't say that's enough, personally. I think Roma Dunze can come in. He can be a number 1 receiver immediately. Gabe Davis was better suited as your number 2 anyway. And then they got Christian Kirk, who can play in the slot there as well. I think that really rounds out the weapons group perfectly for Jacksonville. I think Roma Dunze is going to give you minimum in his rookie year what Calvin Ridley gave you last year, and you hope that he can exceed Calvin Ridley's production. Brock Bowers to the Jets. They did all the work on the offensive line already. They can take an offensive lineman in the 3rd round as an insurance policy, a long-term insurance policy. Then we got the 2 corners from the 2 trades with the Chargers trading back. They use that one, get Quinyon Mitchell, and then the Eagles trade up. They get Terry and Arnold. They want to get ahead of the Raiders there, and I would say get ahead of the Colts as well to get to the cornerback that you want, especially with Quinyon Mitchell coming off the board. I think Denver's going to be really willing to come back based upon their pick situation. Then we get the run of tackles for Shanyu Talisi Fuaga. I could see this even being swapped. I can see the Raiders deciding Fuaga just because of the right tackle, left tackle thing. Jared Verse to the Colts. And then Troy Futanu, if he gets to the Seahawks, I can't see them passing on him. I've seen pro comps for him to be to Zach Martin, and that makes a lot of sense to me. He's like that left tackle who's probably going to be a guard because of his length, and it really worked out for the Cowboys with Zach Martin. I don't know if you guys noticed. And I think being able to bring a guy in who has that type of versatility that Futanu is going to have right out the gate with the ceiling that he has, I think it just makes too much sense. It makes too much sense for them to pass on him unless they're trading back and someone takes them ahead of him like the Bengals. But I like them to stick here, take him, and just not have a 2nd round pick. So the Bears trade back a second time because the Pittsburgh Steelers are trading up for Brian Thomas. They're moving up those 3 spots to get Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver of LSU. Hello, Steelers fans. I said you guys I've been saying it since the draft cycle, I've been doing mock drafts at the end of the year. I said Deontay Johnson or George Pickens was going to get traded in their offseason prediction video that I did. I said Deontay Johnson was probably going to be the one because of cap space and the value of the pick they were going to get. Them getting Dante Jackson in return along with like the pick swap they did where they moved up around or something. I thought that was a pretty good trade. You get a great corner opposite of Joey Porter Jr. It puts you in a good spot. I really like the spot that put them in, talent-wise. I think I don't think it necessarily locks them down from not taking a corner in this draft, but I think it opens them up where they can attack the wide receiver room, get this wide receiver for Brian Thomas Jr. here, before the Bengals can. And also, I think a lot of people get locked in. I see people talking about the Giants trading up with the Cardinals to get a quarterback, for example, in some mock drafts, and they go, why would they leapfrog the Chargers? They're not taking a quarterback. It's like you're not leapfrogging necessarily the teams that you're jumping ahead of. You're leapfrogging the market, who's also trying to maybe come up for him. A team like the Dallas Cowboys could be making that call. You just don't know who's coming in trying to make that trade. The Arizona Cardinals could be doing it as well. I think the Cardinals will go 2 wide receivers in this draft in the first 2 days. We'll get to that. And then the Bears, I think, are going to be a willing trade down partner because they're sort of looking at the board going like, we can maybe move down again. Byron Murphy's still there. Latu's still here. There's guys that we can still pick that we really like, and we can still get more picks for it. Like, I think the Bears trading down makes a lot of sense for them because they can still get Latu like they do here. And then the Dolphins, they pick up Byron Murphy because he takes a tumble here. Bo Nix, of course, there's the trade. Bo Nix for in the Eagles trade. And then with the second pick acquired from Minnesota, the Chargers get their right tackle, Amarius Mims, to play opposite Rashawn Slater. So now you get your tackle, who was probably in play in the 5th pick, but would have been a left tackle in Joe Alt, who looked horrific in the right tackle stance, by the way. So there is that. So unless you're going to take Joe Alt and move Rashawn Slater to right tackle after playing him at left tackle all these years, maybe not the best idea. So you get Amarius Mims, right tackle, plug him right in, starter, perfect. And then Jackson Powers-Johnson goes to the Cowboys, comes in starting center. There you go. So we'll talk about the trade from the second round back into the first round. Again, it's the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to do that to take Xavier Worthy after taking Johnny Newton 2 picks prior with the pick they acquired from the Houston Texans in the trade last year that involved Will Anderson. So now you've got Marvin Harrison Jr., you've got Xavier Worthy. So you got your great little route runner there, true number 1 receiver, and then you get Xavier Worthy, who basically is going to take on that wide receiver 2, the smaller, fast, that you were hoping to get out of like somebody like Rondale Moore, because now you got really good compliments out there. You got Marvin Harrison and Michael Wilson, and then you got Xavier Worthy. I think it's 3 very different skill sets, 3 very different wide receivers to give you a nice variety on the offense of size, speed, route running, and you got a little bit of everything now than Trey McBride, who really came along last season as the tight end that you were hoping he would become. This is rounding out the offense of weaponry perfectly for them. The Bills getting a Donnie Mitchell. We see the 2 tackles there, Jordan Morgan and Tyler Guyton, for the AFC and NFC champions. Chop Robinson going to the Bucks. That makes Yaya Diaby and Joe Tryon part of like a rotation opposite of Chop Robinson. Cooper DeJean just can play anywhere in that secondary, so that's a perfect pick for the Green Bay Packers. I could see, there are still some good players left on the board here. I think Graham Barton is a possibility here for the 49ers in this scenario. I think he'd be a possibility even for the Baltimore Ravens in this scenario. It's just going to be interesting to see how these teams, especially here, this bottom 8, how they have players ranked and how their big board is playing out. Because there's just so many possibilities here. Like really in the top 10, the top 10 is kind of the top 10, right? You kind of know who's going there. There might be like one guy who falls out, another guy comes in. You can sort of anticipate that. You get to these last 8 picks, man, and it's a free-for-all. Xavier Worthy, Darius Robinson, Tyler Guyton, Jordan Morgan. But those last 4 picks, they could easily be second-round picks. And 4 other guys can take their spot. I don't think Adonai Mitchell, Adonai or Adonai, whatever. I don't think he's at risk of falling out. But I do think this bottom 4, that's really like 4 players who are really up in the air. I think these are 4 guys who aren't guaranteed the first round pick. I think the top 28 that I listed, I think that really is what that first round is going to look like. They're going to fall wherever they may fall in that first round. But man, Graham Barton, who else they got here? There's so many good players, man. I mean, does a team trade up for Michael Penix? I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think Penix might fall to the 3rd round. Especially with 5 quarterbacks already going. I'm not sure quarterback 6 finds its way into the first round or even into the second round. What happens with linebacker? What happens with other wide receivers? Ladd McConkey. What happens with Keon Coleman? Are people going to find Keon Coleman despite, what his limitations may be? I just think that the way that this draft is sort of positioned strength-wise, there's almost like 50 players who are hard to argue being first-round picks. And so it's going to be really, really an exciting play out how it's all going to work out here. And there it is, 32 picks, 1 round with some trades. What did you guys think? What I did with your team? What do you think of me getting Arizona 3 first-round picks in this draft? What do you think of the order in which I did the picks? Who's in the first round? Who's not in the first round? Who do you think should have been in the first round? It's tough. It's tough. Every year there's really good players that fall into the second round, especially. Then you get the odd time a player will fall completely out of day 2 that it's just mind-blowing. And it's like, what are they seeing? What's the league seeing that we're not seeing in these guys? It'll be interesting to see who those players are, but we'll come back with some more content leading up to the draft. It's only like a month away, guys. It's only a month away. We'll have some reaction videos posted during that as well. And a couple more mock drafts as we sort of go along here. Another 7th rounder is going to be coming your guys' way. And check out some of my offseason prediction videos that I've done so far. I'm not going to do them anymore because the offseason already started. I did as many as I could, and I think that I nailed a couple of those things, at least in terms of targeting, especially Pittsburgh and Deontay Johnson. Out of here. See you guys.